The Forgotten Dreadnought That Altered History. Part 1. The lights in the deep archives beneath the Lunar Naval Academy flickered as Lieutenant Commander Maya Rodriguez pulled another dusty box from the shelf. It was her third straight day down. Here, eyes burning from reading old paper files and damaged data chips. Most of her colleagues thought she was wasting her time. Digital archives had everything important, they said, but Maya knew better. History hides in the overlooked places, her grandfather used to say. As the Academy's youngest naval historian, she took those words seriously. Maya checked her watch. Nearly midnight by lunar time. The archives would technically close in 15 minutes, but Security Officer Frank Walsh had long ago given up trying to chase her out on time. "Just don't forget to lock up, Rodriguez," he'd grumbled earlier, handing her the override codes. She carefully lifted a folder marked Classified Seoul Defense Initiative, Phase 3. The edges were singed, suggesting someone had once tried to destroy it. Maya's heart quickened as she opened it. Inside were technical schematics, mission logs, and crew manifests for something called Project Sentinel. And there, on a faded photograph, was the ship itself, a massive dreadnought unlike any vessel. In the historical record she'd studied, USS Sentinel, she whispered, tracing the name printed below the image. The ship featured unusual hull configurations and weapon placements that didn't match any documented military vessel from the First Archean War. Maya quickly scanned the mission logs. According to the files, the Sentinel had been an experimental warship, equipped with revolutionary technology that could have ended the war with the Archean Collective years earlier than it actually ended. But something had gone wrong. The ship had disappeared during a classified operation deep in contested space, listed simply as "lost with all hands" in the official record. Maya frowned. If this ship had been so important, why wasn't it mentioned in any of the standard historical accounts? She had memorized every major vessel involved in the Archean conflict during her academy training. A final document caught her eye. A personal letter signed by Fleet Admiral George Harrison, dated 3 weeks after the Sentinel's reported destruction. The loss of the Sentinel and its phase shift capabilities represents a significant setback, but perhaps a necessary one. Some doors are best left closed. I recommend all remaining prototypes be dismantled and the project files sealed permanently. Maya photographed each document with her personal device, her mind racing. Phase shift technology. The only similar reference she'd ever encountered was in theoretical physics journals from decades later. The lights blinked 3 times, signaling the archives closing. Maya carefully returned everything except one small data chip that had fallen, loose from the folder. She slipped it into her pocket. Not stealing, she told herself. Just borrowing. Captain Daniel Clark looked up from his desk as Maya entered his office the next morning. His perpetually furrowed brow deepened when he saw her expression. "Whatever it is, Rodriguez, the answer is no." Maya placed a tablet on his desk. "Sir, I need to discuss something I found in the physical archives. Those archives are restricted to historical documentation only, not treasure hunting," he said, not bothering to look at the tablet. "It's about the USS Sentinel." Clark's coffee cup froze halfway to his lips. He set it down slowly. "Where did you hear that name?" "Project files, sir. In Box 37J of the War Archives. The ship reportedly disappeared 60 years ago during the First Archean War." Maya watched his reaction carefully. "Except there's no mention of it in any official history." Clark stood abruptly. "Lieutenant Commander, this conversation is over. Whatever you think you found is classified beyond your clearance level." "But sir, if the Sentinel had technology that could have saved lives..." "That will be all, Rodriguez." Clark's voice was steel. "Return any materials you've removed from the archives immediately." Maya reluctantly handed over her tablet. "I've already transferred the files to the secure historical database for proper cataloging, sir, as is protocol." Clark's face reddened. "You had no authority?" "Actually, sir, as Naval Historical Officer, cataloging uncategorized war documents is exactly my job." She stood straighter. Unless there's some reason these particular historical documents shouldn't be properly archived? They stared at each other for a long moment before Clark spoke again. The Sentinel is ancient history, best left buried. Focus on your actual assignments. He pointed to the door. Dismissed. Maya found Dr. Alan Payne in his cluttered lab at the Academy's engineering department. Monitors displayed various engine simulations, while he tinkered with a small metal device. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said when she entered. Alan had been 2 years ahead of her at the Academy. Now he was the department's most promising propulsion engineer, even if his office suggested organizational chaos. Maya closed the door. "What do you know about phase shift technology?" Alan's hand stilled. "Theoretical stuff." "Why?" Maya pulled the data chip from her pocket. "Because 60 years ago it wasn't theoretical. They built it, installed it on a dreadnought called the Sentinel, and then the ship vanished." Alan whistled low. "And Captain Stick-Up-His-Ass Clark tried to bury it again?" "How did you know I talked to Clark?" Alan pointed to her collar. "You only straighten your insignia like that after he dresses you down." He gestured to an empty chair. "Show me what you've got." For the next hour, they reviewed the contents of the data chip. It contained partial technical specifications for the Sentinel's propulsion system. "This is impossible," Alan muttered, staring at the equations. "They were decades ahead of anything we have now, let alone back then." "Yet the ship disappeared without a trace," Maya said. Alan looked up. "Not necessarily. These coordinates, here," he pointed to a sequence at the bottom of the file. "They could be its last known location." Maya checked the stellar map on her device. "That's in the Vega Proxima system, uninhabited and off-limits since the war." "Supposedly uninhabitable," Alan corrected. "But with this technology, Maya, if the Sentinel wasn't destroyed but just lost, if it's still out there somewhere, then we need to find it," she finished. "The history books say the Archeans suddenly retreated 60 years ago, ending the war without explanation. What if the Sentinel is connected?" Alan leaned back. "You're talking about mounting an expedition to restricted space based on classified information you technically stole." Maya nodded. "I need a ship and a crew willing to bend some rules." "You need your brother," Alan said with a slight smile. Maya's brother, Commander Jack Rodriguez, captained patrol missions along the border regions. He had access to scout vessels and a reputation for interpreting orders creatively. Maya stood. "I need to make a call. And Alan, this stays between us for now." Alan nodded, already turning back to the specifications with fascination. "Maya," he called as she reached the door. "If even half of this is real, you found something that could change everything we know about the war." Maya paused. "That's what worries me. Why was it hidden in the first place?" She left Alan's lab, her mind already planning what to tell her brother. The Sentinel was out there somewhere, and Maya Rodriguez was going to find it, no matter what Captain Clark or anyone else said. The forgotten Dreadnought had altered history once. Perhaps it was about to do so again. The forgotten Dreadnought that altered history. Part 2. The scout vessel. Horizon cut through the darkness of space, its engines humming with quiet efficiency. Captain Olivia Grant stood on the bridge, arms crossed as she watched the stars streak. Here. This was supposed to be a routine patrol mission along the outer colonies. Yet here they were, heading toward restricted space on what her first officer had called a wild goose chase. "Status report," she said. First Officer Peter Lewis looked up from his console. "All systems normal, Captain. We'll reach the edge of the Vega Proxima system in approximately 6 hours. Grant nodded. She glanced toward the back of the bridge, where Maya Rodriguez sat hunched over a data panel, comparing old star charts with current navigational maps. The naval historian had convinced her brother to arrange this special research mission. But Grant wasn't born yesterday. Whatever they were looking for was more than just historical curiosity. "Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez," Grant called. "A word in my ready room." Maya followed the captain into the small office adjacent to the bridge. The door had barely closed when Grant turned to face her. "I've given you 3 days of my ship's time because Commander Rodriguez vouched for you," Grant said. "But I need the whole truth now." "What exactly are we looking for?" Maya hesitated, then decided that partial honesty was her best option. "A missing warship, Captain. The USS Sentinel. It disappeared in this region 60 years ago during the Archean War. Salvage operations aren't part of our mission parameters." "This isn't about salvage," Maya said. "The Sentinel was testing experimental technology when it vanished. Technology that might explain why the Archeans suddenly retreated and ended the war." Grant's eyes narrowed. "That's a bold claim. Which is why we need to investigate," Maya pressed. "If the ship is still out there, after 60 years, in a system with no habitable planets?" Grant shook her head. "Even if there were survivors initially, they'd be long dead." "Maybe, but the ship's data and technology could still be intact. Captain, history says we were losing that war until the Archeans mysteriously withdrew. Don't you want to know why?" Before Grant could answer, the ship's communication system chimed. "Captain, to the bridge," came Lewis's voice. "We're picking up something unusual." When they returned to the bridge, the crew was gathered around the main sensor display. Samantha Cole, the ship's AI specialist, looked up as they entered. "We detected a brief energy spike at the edge of our scanning range," she reported. "It doesn't match any known signature in our database." "Archean?" Grant asked sharply. "No, Captain. Actually," Cole hesitated, "it has some similarities to old Earth military patterns, but with anomalies I can't explain." Maya moved to the console. "Can you pinpoint the location?" "It's gone now," Cole said. "But it came from coordinates not far from where we're headed." Grant turned to Maya. "You didn't mention we might encounter active technology out here." "I didn't know," Maya said truthfully. "The records only gave the Sentinel's last known location." Grant studied her for a moment, then turned to her crew. "Maintain course, but raise shields and go to yellow alert. I want all sensors at maximum range." As the crew returned to their stations, Maya's brother Jack approached her. "This is starting to feel less like a research mission and more like walking into a trap," he said quietly. "The Sentinel wasn't just any ship, Jack," Maya replied. "According to the files I found, it had phase shift technology that could alter a vessel's relationship with space-time. If it's still out there, if something of that technology survived, then every major power would kill to get their hands on it," Jack finished. "Including people in our own government. Did you consider that might be why the ship was erased from the records?" Before Maya could respond, the ship lurched violently. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple contacts," shouted the tactical officer. "Automated defense platforms activating directly ahead." "Evasive maneuvers," Grant ordered. "Weapons, hot." The horizon banked sharply as energy beams cut through the space they had occupied seconds before. On the main screen, Maya could see several small angular objects unfolding into weapon configurations. "Those aren't Archean designs," Alan Payne said, rushing onto the bridge. "They're ours. Old Earth Defense Force automated sentries." "That's impossible," Grant said. "This system was never fortified." "Incoming transmission," called Communications Officer Kevin Barnes. I don't believe this. It's using an Earth military code from the war era." "On screen," Grant ordered. The message that appeared was fragmented, the text breaking apart and reforming. "Sentinel. Perimeter alert. Unauthorized approach. Identify or be destroyed. By order of Captain Elizabeth Brown." Maya's eyes widened. Elizabeth Brown. She was the Sentinel's captain. Another violent shake rattled the ship as a defensive blast struck their shields. "Shields at 60%, Lewis reported. "We can't take much more of this." "Send the response code from the files," Maya told Barnes urgently. "The one from the Sentinel's mission brief." Barnes quickly input the sequence Maya provided. For several tense seconds, nothing happened. Then, as suddenly as they had activated, the defense platforms powered down. "They're standing down," Lewis said in disbelief. "New message incoming," Barnes announced. This time, the text was clear. Approach coordinates 27, 34, 89. Follow precisely. Deviation will trigger lethal response. Grant looked at Maya. It seems your missing ship left a welcoming committee. She turned to her navigator. Set course for those coordinates, thrusters only, no sudden movements. As the horizon slowly advanced along the designated path, Maya stared at the message still displayed on the screen. Someone, or something connected to the Sentinel, was still active after 60 years in a supposedly uninhabitable system. Captain, Cole called out suddenly. Sensors are detecting a massive gravitational anomaly directly ahead. It's like the fabric of space is folding. The stars before them seem to ripple and distort. And then, as if emerging from behind an invisible curtain, a small planetary body appeared where sensors had previously shown nothing but empty space. That's not possible, whispered Lewis. But there it was, a small, Earth-like planet with clear signs of artificial structures on its surface, and in orbit around it, barely visible in the reflected light of the distant star, was the unmistakable silhouette of a massive warship. Maya felt her breath catch in her throat. The Sentinel, she said softly. We found it. Grant turned to her crew, her expression grim but determined. Looks like we're about to rewrite history, people. Prepare a landing party. The forgotten dreadnought that altered history. Part 3, the landing shuttle descended through the atmosphere of the hidden planet. Maya Rodriguez peered through the viewport, watching as clouds parted to reveal a landscape that shouldn't exist. Below them stretched green fields and what appeared to be small settlements. All of this in a system that every official record listed as uninhabitable. Security Chief Lawrence Bennett checked his weapon one last time. I don't like this, he said. It feels like we're being led exactly where someone wants us to go. Or something, Alan Payne added, not looking up from his scanner. These readings don't make sense. The technology creating the gravitational distortion around this planet is beyond anything we currently have. Captain Grant had stayed aboard the Horizon, keeping the ship ready for a quick departure if needed. The landing party consisted of Maya, her brother Jack Allen Bennett, and Samantha Cole, whose expertise with AI systems might prove useful if they encountered any active technology from the Sentinel. Coming up on the coordinates now, Jack announced from the pilot's seat. Looks like some kind of outpost. The shuttle settled onto a landing pad beside a collection of structures that combined Earth architecture with unfamiliar elements. Most striking was the complete absence of people. Life support systems functioning normally, Cole reported. Atmosphere is breathable, similar to Earth standard. Bennett moved to the shuttle door. I go first. Nobody leaves until I give the all clear. The security chief stepped outside, weapon drawn. After a tense minute, he waved the others forward. The air smelled fresh, with an unfamiliar sweetness. Around them, the settlement showed signs of careful maintenance. Not abandoned, but eerily empty. Solar panels gleamed on rooftops, and gardens grew in neat rows. Where is everyone? Jack wondered aloud. A mechanical sound drew their attention to a small building at the center of the outpost. Its doors slid open, revealing a dimly lit interior. I believe we're being invited in, Maya said. Bennett frowned. Could be a trap. If whoever's controlling this place wanted to harm us, they could have let the defense platforms destroy the Horizon, Maya pointed out. Bennett didn't look convinced, but he led them toward the open doors. Inside, they found a command center filled with a mixture of old Earth technology and unfamiliar devices. Screens displayed data in both English and another script Maya didn't recognize. These are Archean symbols, Cole said, pointing to the strange writing, but they've been modified to work with human interfaces. Alan moved to one console. This tech is decades beyond anything we have, but it has roots in Earth designs. He looked up at Maya. I think this is what the Sentinel was testing. The phase shift technology evolved over 60 years. Jack pointed to a door on the far side of the room. Look at this. The door had both human and Archean writing. The English words read, Sentinel Archives. Bennett checked for traps before opening. The room beyond held records, physical paper as well as data storage devices. At its center sat a holographic projector. Maya approached it carefully. There was a simple button marked Play. She pressed it, and the air shimmered. A figure formed, a woman in an old Earth Defense Force uniform. Despite the recording's age, her image was crystal clear. "I am Captain Elizabeth Brown of the USS Sentinel," the hologram began. "If you're viewing this, you've found our sanctuary and passed the defense grid's authentication. I hope you come in peace, because that's what we've built here." The 5 visitors exchanged glances as the recording continued. The official record will say the Sentinel was lost with all hands during a classified operation in 2187. This is a lie. We didn't perish. We chose to disappear. Captain Brown's hologram paced as if giving a briefing on her bridge. The Sentinel was testing phase shift technology meant to give us an edge against the Archean collective. During our first test, we discovered something unexpected. The phase shift didn't just alter our position in space, it altered how we perceived reality. Brown's expression grew solemn. We intercepted Archean communications that our translators could finally understand correctly. What we learned changed everything. The war was based on a catastrophic misunderstanding. Maya felt her heart racing. This confirmed her suspicions, but went beyond anything she had imagined. Our phase shift technology had been unintentionally disrupting their communication networks for years. Brown continued. The Archeans believed we were deliberately attacking their consciousness network, what they call the collective. They fought back in what they considered self-defense. The hologram showed data streams and translation matrices. Once we understood this, I faced an impossible choice. Return with this knowledge to military leaders who had built careers on fighting this war, or try something unprecedented. Brown's hologram stood straighter. I chose the latter. We used our phase shift technology to make contact directly with the Archean leadership. It took months of careful communication, but we established understanding. Together, we created this hidden outpost, a place where humans and Archeans could work to end the war without either side losing face. The recording showed images of humans working alongside tall, angular beings with iridescent skin, Archeans. From this sanctuary, we carefully influenced both sides toward peace. The Archeans' sudden retreat that historians can't explain? That was the result of our diplomatic efforts. The ceasefire that has held for 60 years wasn't luck. It was carefully orchestrated from here. Maya felt her understanding of history, crumbling and rebuilding itself in real time. If you're from Earth, you likely believe the Archeans are still enemies we merely tolerate. This is by design. Some wounds heal slowly. But the truth is, we've been working toward true alliance all this time. Brown's hologram looked directly at them, as if seeing through time. There are those on both sides who prefer conflict, who profit from keeping our civilizations apart. They would destroy what we've built if they knew. That's why we hid the truth. The recording paused. Then Brown's expression turned urgent. If you've found us, others might follow. You now share our burden of knowledge. The phase shift technology aboard the Sentinel could still destabilize peace if misused. You must decide what to do with what you've learned. The hologram flickered and vanished, leaving the room in silence. Jack struggled for words. This changes everything we know about the war. About everything, Maya corrected. History, politics, our entire relationship with the Archeans. A new sound caught their attention. The unmistakable hum of ships entering atmosphere. Cole checked her scanner. Multiple vessels approaching and her eyes widened. One of them is broadcasting an Earth Defense Force Admiral's code. Maya felt cold dread spreading through her. Someone else knows about this place. Bennett was already moving toward the exit. We need to get back to the shuttle. As they rushed outside, Maya looked up to see 2 ships descending, one bearing Earth military markings, the other of unmistakably Archean design. Too late, Jack said quietly. Looks like the secret's out. The Earth vessel landed first. When its doors opened, armed soldiers emerged, followed by a man in an admiral's uniform. This outpost and everything in it is now under military jurisdiction, the admiral announced. I am Admiral Nathan White. You are all in violation of restricted Space and will surrender immediately. Maya stepped forward. Admiral, you don't understand what this place is. White cut her off. I understand perfectly, Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez. Better than you could imagine. His cold smile sent shivers down her spine. After all, my father was the general who ordered the Sentinel's mission in the first place. The forgotten dreadnought that altered history. Part 4. Admiral White's soldiers surrounded Maya and her companions, weapons raised. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Maya noticed that while the Admiral's attention was focused on them, his soldiers kept nervously glancing at the second ship that had landed nearby, the Archean vessel. How did you find this place? Maya asked, trying to keep the Admiral talking. White smiled coldly. I've been tracking your research for months, Lieutenant Commander. Ever since you first accessed those archives. Did you think those boxes were just forgotten? They were being monitored. From behind them, Jack spoke carefully. Sir, with respect, you need to understand what we've discovered here. The war was a mistake, a misunderstanding? White interrupted. Yes, I know the story. Captain Brown fabricated a convenient tale to justify her treason. The door of the Archean ship slowly opened. 3 tall figures emerged, their iridescent skin catching the sunlight. They moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost unnatural. White soldiers immediately shifted their weapons toward the newcomers. Hold your fire, White commanded sharply. He turned to the Archeans, his face a practiced diplomatic mask. This is an internal Earth matter. Your presence is unnecessary. The tallest Archean stepped forward. Its features were angular, with eyes that reflected light like opals. When it spoke, the voice had an odd harmonic quality that seemed to come from multiple sources at once. We disagree, Admiral White. This outpost exists under joint protection. Your military presence here violates our agreement. Maya looked between the Admiral and the Archean, realization dawning. You know each other. White's jaw tightened. Ketval and I have had diplomatic interactions before. Yet you bring weapons to a place of peace. The Archean, Ketval, responded. This suggests your intentions are not diplomatic today. Bennett shifted slightly, positioning himself to protect Maya and the others if shooting started. The movement didn't go unnoticed by White's soldiers. Stand down, Chief Bennett, White ordered. No one needs to get hurt here. We're simply securing technology that belongs to Earth. That technology doesn't belong solely to Earth, Maya argued. Captain Brown's recording made it clear. The phase shift discoveries were developed jointly after the Sentinel arrived. White's expression hardened. Captain Brown was a traitor who abandoned her mission to consort with the enemy. Whatever recording you saw was propaganda designed to justify her actions. Alan Payne, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. If that were true, Admiral, why did your father order all records of the Sentinel erased? White turned his cold gaze on the engineer. My father understood the importance of classified information, Dr. Payne. Some technologies are too dangerous for public knowledge. Or too inconvenient for those who prefer war to peace, Maya suggested. A muscle in... White's jaw twitched. You're naive, Rodriguez. Peace is a luxury built on military strength. The Archeans understand this better than anyone. He glanced at Ketval. Why else would they maintain their fleets along our borders all these years? For the same reason. You maintain yours, Ketval responded. Fear and distrust are difficult to overcome even after 60 years of careful progress. Maya looked more closely at the Archean. You were there, weren't you? When the Sentinel first arrived. Ketval's multi-toned voice softened. I was young then, by our standards. I served as translator when Captain Brown initiated contact. We did not trust each other at first, but we learned. Enough reminiscing. White cut in. My orders are clear. This outpost and all technology within it, especially the Sentinel, are to be secured for Earth's protection. And if we refuse to allow this? Ketval asked. White's smile didn't reach his eyes. Then we find ourselves at an impasse that could have unfortunate consequences for the peace you claim to value. Maya realized with horror what White was implying. You're threatening to restart the war? I'm stating facts, Lieutenant Commander. The balance of power must be maintained. At that moment, Samantha Cole subtly touched Maya's arm, showing her a small device partially hidden in her palm. Maya recognized it instantly. A data transmitter linked to the horizon. Cole whispered, barely audible. Captain Grant is receiving everything. She's alerting Earth Command. Maya nodded slightly, then addressed White. Admiral, before you take any action, you should see the full record of what happened here. I've seen all I need to see, White replied dismissively. No, you haven't, came a new voice. Everyone turned. In the doorway of the outpost stood a woman in her late 70s, straight-backed despite her age, wearing a uniform that combined elements of Earth military design with unfamiliar insignia. White's face went pale. Impossible. The woman stepped forward, several other humans and Archeans emerging behind her. Admiral Nathan White, she said, her voice strong and commanding. You look just like your father. He was short-sighted too. Maya stared in disbelief. The woman matched the hologram they had seen, just decades older. Captain Elizabeth Brown, Maya breathed. Brown nodded to her. Well done finding us, Lieutenant. Commander Rodriguez, though I suspect we would have had to reveal ourselves soon anyway. She turned her attention back to White. Your father and I disagreed about many things, Admiral. Most importantly about whether humans and Archeans could ever understand each other. You abandoned your duty, White accused. I fulfilled my highest duty, Brown corrected, to protect Earth and its people. Continuing that war would have eventually destroyed both our civilizations. The phase shift technology, White began, was never meant to be a weapon, Brown interrupted. Its true purpose was communication. It allows our minds to interface directly with the Archean collective consciousness. That's how we discovered the truth about the war. She gestured to the Archeans standing with her. Unlike Ketval and the newcomers, these wore garments similar to the humans beside them, evidence of decades of cultural exchange. We've built something precious here, Brown continued, a true understanding between different forms of intelligent life. But we kept it hidden, because we knew there would always be those who preferred the familiarity of conflict. White's hand moved toward his sidearm. This changes nothing, my orders stand. Your orders were based on incomplete information, said another voice. This one came from the communication device on White's uniform. Maya recognized the voice immediately. Admiral Patricia Hayes, the head of Earth Defense Command. Admiral Hayes? White sounded confused. I don't understand. Captain Grant of the Horizon has been transmitting everything happening there, Hayes explained through the comm. The Joint Chiefs are watching this historic moment unfold. Your orders are superseded, Admiral White. Stand down immediately. White's face contorted with anger and disbelief. They're manipulating you. The Archeans have never been trustworthy. And yet, Hayes replied calmly, they've maintained peace for 60 years while building this remarkable outpost. I'd say that demonstrates considerable trustworthiness. White looked around frantically, seeing his soldiers lowering their weapons in response to Hayes's orders. This isn't over, he snarled at Brown. Then he turned and stalked back toward his ship. As White's vessel departed, Captain Brown approached Maya and her companions. We have much to discuss, she said with a warm smile, and I believe you'll want to see the Sentinel itself. Maya found her voice at last. You're really her. You've been here all this time? Brown nodded. This sanctuary became our home, and now perhaps it can become a true bridge between our worlds. She looked up at the sky. That's if your Captain Grant and Admiral Hayes are ready for the universe to learn what really happened 60 years ago. The truth about the war, Maya said, still trying to process everything. Truth is powerful, Brown agreed. Sometimes dangerous, sometimes healing. She gestured toward a path leading away from the outpost. Come. The Sentinel awaits, and with it, the full story of how one ship changed the course of history, the forgotten Dreadnought that altered history. Part 5. The USS Sentinel floated in a massive underground hangar, bathed in soft blue light. Maya Rodriguez stood on the observation platform, staring in awe at the Dreadnought. Despite being 60 years old, the ship looked pristine, its hull bearing none of the scars typical of a warship. The design was both familiar and strange, clearly human in origin but with modifications that gave it an otherworldly appearance. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Captain Elizabeth Brown said, standing beside Maya. "Though we haven't called her a Dreadnought in decades. She's a peace ship now." 6 hours had passed since Admiral White's departure. In that time, Maya and her companions had been given a tour of the sanctuary. They saw humans and Archeans living and working together, combining their knowledge and cultures in ways that seemed impossible, according to everything Maya had learned in the academy. "Your brother and Dr. Payne seem quite taken with our engineering section," Brown observed with a smile, nodding toward where Jack and Alan were deep in conversation with an Archean engineer. "This is all so much to process," Maya admitted. "My entire understanding of our history is incomplete," Brown finished gently, "as was mine, until the Sentinel's phase shift technology allowed us to truly communicate with the Archeans." Captain Grant had brought the Horizon down to the planet's surface and joined them at Brown's invitation. She approached now, still looking, slightly overwhelmed. "Admiral Hayes has been in continuous contact," Grant reported. "Earth Command is struggling with how to proceed. This revelation will change everything." Brown nodded. "We always knew this day would come eventually. We've been preparing for it for 60 years. Samantha Cole joined them, her eyes bright with excitement. "Captain Brown has been showing me how the phase shift technology interfaces with the Archean collective. It's remarkable. It doesn't just translate language, it translates thought patterns, allowing true understanding between completely different forms of consciousness. That's why the misunderstanding happened in the first place," Brown explained. "Our early attempts at communication were like trying to describe color to someone who experiences the world only through sound. When our experimental phase shift signals accidentally disrupted their collective consciousness, they perceived it as an attack on their very being." "And you've kept this sanctuary hidden all these years," Maya said. "Using the phase shift technology to bend space around the planet," Brown nodded. "It was necessary. There were powerful interests on both sides who had invested too much in the conflict. Some would have destroyed everything we built here rather than admit the war was based on a misunderstanding." "Like Admiral White," Grant said. "And his father, before him," Brown agreed. "But they're not the majority. Most people, human and Archean alike, want peace when given the chance to truly understand each other." A gentle chime sounded throughout the hangar. Brown smiled. "Perfect timing. Shall we go aboard?" She led them up a ramp into the Sentinel. Inside, the ship was a remarkable blend of human and Archean design. Crew members of both species worked, together with easy familiarity. They entered what had once been the bridge but was now a circular chamber centered around a glowing crystalline structure. "The heart of our phase shift technology," Brown explained, "and our link to both Earth Command and the Archean High Council." The crystal pulsed, and a holographic projection appeared, Admiral Hayes on one side, a distinguished Archean on the other. "Captain Brown," Hayes greeted, "I see you have our explorers with you." "They've earned the right to witness this moment, Admiral," Brown replied, "as have you and High Counselor Ethnar." The Archean inclined its head. "Indeed, our long preparation approaches its culmination." Maya looked between them, confused. "What preparation?" Brown smiled. "For 60 years, we've been slowly guiding both our civilizations toward true understanding. And now, with the unexpected help of your discovery, we're ready for the final step." Hayes addressed Maya directly. "Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, your historical research has accidentally uncovered the greatest secret in Earth's recent history. How fitting that a historian should be the one to help us correct the record." The crystal pulsed again, and the holographic display expanded to show two separate feeds, a session of Earth's unified government on one side, and what appeared to be the Archean Council on the other. Both were in session, waiting. "What's happening?" Maya asked. History, Brown replied simply. The official recognition of what we built here, the truth about the war, revealed to both our peoples simultaneously. Hayes spoke formally. Captain Elizabeth Brown, on behalf of Earth's unified government, I extend an official invitation for you and your crew, human and Archean alike, to return from your long exile. The Sentinel will be recommissioned not as a warship, but as the first official joint diplomatic vessel between our civilizations, the Archean High Counselor added. And the sanctuary you have built will become the first official shared world of our peoples, a symbol of what can be achieved through understanding. Brown stood straight, her eyes bright with unshed tears. We accept with profound gratitude. After 60 years, we can finally come home. All of us. The announcement was being broadcast across both civilizations. On the screens, Maya could see reactions of shock, disbelief, and wonder from both humans and Archeans, as the truth of their shared history was revealed. In the days that followed, Maya found herself at the center of a diplomatic whirlwind. As the historian who had discovered the truth, she was asked to help document the full story of the Sentinel and its crew. The narrative of the Archean War was being rewritten, not as a tale of enemies and battles, but as a tragic misunderstanding, followed by a remarkable secret peace. Admiral White had been relieved of duty pending investigation. Many of his supporters still resisted the new narrative, but they were increasingly in the minority, as more details emerged about the sanctuary and its achievements. 1 week after their discovery, Maya stood with Captain Grant on the observation deck of the newly recommissioned Sentinel as it prepared for its first official voyage to Earth. They want to make you the official historian for the joint fleet, Grant said. Appropriate, given your role in all this. Maya watched as human and Archean crew members moved about the ship, working together with the ease of long practice. I'm still not sure I believe all of this is happening, she admitted. History rarely unfolds the way we expect, Grant replied. Sometimes it takes a forgotten dreadnought to change its course. Captain Brown joined them, now wearing a new uniform that bore the insignia of both Earth and the Archean Collective. We're ready to depart, Lieutenant Commander. Are you prepared to go home and share our story? Maya nodded. I think I am, Captain. Though I'm curious, did you ever consider returning sooner, revealing the truth before now? Brown gazed out at the stars becoming visible as the hangar doors opened above them. Many times. But true understanding can't be forced or rushed. Both our species needed time to evolve, to be ready for this moment. She smiled at Maya. We may have altered history by disappearing, but you and your friends have altered it again by finding us. Sometimes the most powerful changes come not from weapons or technology, but from simple truth. The Sentinel hummed to life around them, its phase shift, drives preparing to take them home. As the ship rose into the atmosphere, Maya thought about how profoundly one forgotten dreadnought had changed the course of two civilizations, once by disappearing, and now by being found. History wasn't always what it seemed. Sometimes the most important stories were the ones that remained untold, until someone cared enough to search for them.